Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. No? I think you have to get really close to this. How about that? Okay. Thank you all for being here today. Especially thank you to our media partners who's going to help us spread some news out there. First, we're going to have Chief Drew go over some statistics, and then Mayor Philip Jones is going to make remarks. After that, we'll take a few questions. Also, if you notice the QR code right by the door, after the conference, about 11:15, it'll go live, and there'll be a summary of the press conference as well as some slides if you'd like to use those. So without further ado, Chief Drew.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, good morning. Do I need that microphone, or can you all hear me okay? Need the microphone. All right. So first of all, good morning. And I'm here today with the mayor and our city manager, Mr. Archer, just to share some news with our community. I think it's important to be open and transparent, and we're going to share a little bit about where we are on gun violence. That's a big focus on our department, as it is departments across the country, of where we look around mid-year this year. So I'm going to broadcast some numbers and an accomplishment that we as a city, our department, we as a community have come together and resulted. But before I start, I want to make sure that I acknowledge a couple things. I know there are people in this room that have lost loved ones to gun violence. I see specifically three: Ms. Capehart, Mr. Rayborn, members of the Uri Lewis family. You matter to me, and you matter to this city. And I appreciate your support and trust in us. And those that are here that take part, and we'll touch base a little bit on as we go through some of our partners, so I will hit on some of those. But I wanted to acknowledge the three family members that are here today that have lost loved ones in our city. You matter. And as we talk about numbers and statistics, please remember that every one of those numbers and statistics represent an individual. They represent a family, a community in our city, and they matter. They're important. But as we go forward, I would like to share with you our 2024 mid-year update on gun violence. As you can see in the slide, the first slide that we're going to talk about is here we are from homicides from January 1st, and we cut this off. I tried to make it as accurate as I could to July 21st. So this time last year, the city had experienced 20 homicides. To date, we sit at 9. We can clap for that, right? That's an achievement. That's an achievement. A collective achievement. When I talk about our overall shootings, these are non-fatal shootings. From January again to July 21st, this time last year, we had a total of, am I reading that right? 50, we got to look at the big, 52 compared to 36 this year. And we're going to talk about some things that have helped us achieve that, to decrease that number, and that's important. So these are our shootings, non-fatal shootings. I put a slide here to talk about our clearance rates, because when we do have victims, right, when we have individuals that crime or loss or injured, it's important that we solve those crimes, that we bring those cases, we hold those accountable. So I just want you to see in the column, the first column is the incidents, the second column is how many are cleared. That means individuals have been charged or arrested year to date. The third column shows our clearance rate. And then the last column is set by the FBI, the national average. So the FBI and the national average says they look at departments across the country, cities across the country, you should be clearing about 52% of your homicides, and you can see where we're at. And the big one I want to hit is that's at 88.9% clearance rate in homicides. And that's not just homicides that occurred this year, that is collectively that we solved this year. And it's important to remember that those individuals who've lost loved ones in years past, that we don't take our eye off of that, right? They are still hurting. They are still hurting. And although that an arrest may not erase that hurt, it does provide some closure and some accountability. And that's important for all of us to keep in mind. I wanted to try and just look a little bit at, as in the police department, we're always looking at numbers, we're always looking at data. What's driving us? Are our methods working? Do we need to adjust? Do we need to change? So I wanted to take a snapshot of where we were with homicides and shootings just for the summer. So when we started out in June 1st, and again, trying to make it as accurate as I could, we got our fresh numbers out on Monday, to July 21st of this year, homicides in our city are down from 9 to 3. 3 individuals have lost their lives this summer compared to 9 that occurred last year. And when I look at our shootings, we're down significantly from 22 to 11%. So let's talk about what those decreases are, right? That's a 60% decrease in homicides for our summer and 50% decrease in shootings. That's significant. Now, we're going to talk a little bit, the next slides, we're going to talk a little bit about how I think we've got there, but that's important. So what are some of the strategies that we're using here in the police department and here in our city to address those, to achieve those numbers, to hit those marks? What we're encouraged to talk about today, first is I wanted to highlight our operation with the Bold Blue Line and Operation Ceasefire. That's some of the tactics that we have that promoting gun awareness, addressing gun violence, getting the community involved, working with our grassroots organizations. Operation Blue Line is our partnership with the state police. As we saw a spike last summer, we asked for some assistance and partnership with our state, local, and federal partners, but we actually had a couple of members of state troopers here worked with us, and we decided to do that again this year, but start sooner, right? It's important that we don't start focusing on the summer in the summer. The things that we do in April and May can kind of set the tone for what we have going into the summer. Our strategic focus on violent offenders, those individuals that we know are causing harm in our community, those individuals that we know are involved in gang activity, and my hope is that they turn from that they get out of that lifestyle, that they make better choices. But we cannot allow individuals to hurt or take advantage of other people, to inflict violence. And we talk about mothers and loved ones and families that are here today that have lost loved ones to gun violence. So we have to start ahead of that and focus on those individuals. We still focus on some geographic areas where we have seen violence, but we also attack that with our real-time crime center and technology. Now, none of those things would be the ability to have those if we didn't have our city administration support, our mayor's support, and city council that move funding that we can push those items. Technology continues to advance, and how do we use that? Not only is that important in what we do to reduce crime and solve crime, but it's extremely important when we go into a courtroom, right? When judges and juries and attorneys want to see that type of evidence. That plays a key role, and I like to say we're on the forefront of the use of technology and how we address crime issues with technology, but also are accountable in how we use it. It's not just a carte blanche approach. Training and our community outreach. I have individuals here from the state, DCJS, Mr. Coker is here, that we talk about how do we use more training to decrease, how to de-escalate situations. Issues with domestic violence, issues with individuals that were repeatedly going to houses on domestic type situations, anger situations, neighborhood arguments or beefs that go back and forth. We're injecting more and more training in our academy to de-escalate that. Our partnership with the fire department that deals with mental illness, calls that we're sending officers to, and instead of pulling back and using the care unit to address individuals that might have some mental illness issues, that we can address a different way. So training and community outreach, our grassroots organization, I know Mr. Ketchmore's here, Abyss is here, the stuff that they do in our communities, the conversations that we have, and I appreciate those on the weekends or late night or after events when we sit back and talk. What else can we do? Those things are important. And then our community partnerships, not only with our grassroots organizations, but our volunteers that work in the police department, individuals that meet us where we need to meet, that we walk together and hold conversations together. Those things are important. Our state, local, and federal partners, they make all the difference. Because as I've talked to the mayor and our city manager at length, in late nights and early mornings and on the weekends, that we cannot, as the police department, address this issue on our own. It is a collective city approach, and I'm encouraged by that, by what I see in the room today. The last slide I just want to share with you is sort of what we just sort of talked about. I'm not going to list all of these, but these are our partners that we've worked with. Public schools, our young adult police commissioners. We have 5 high school students in the room today that work with me and talk to me about how we have to address things differently, how crime looks from their eyes in the city, what they want to see. That's important. The Boys and Girls Club, members of the NAACP, that we've had open forums right here to talk about violence and what can we do better. Those things matter. So as I step out of the way, I just wanted to show you when we talk about a 55% decrease in homicide, a 55% decrease so far this year in homicide. But still remember that those numbers represent people. And we continue. That's why we work so hard. That's why the men and women in uniform that do this job, it matters to them. It matters to them. So I appreciate, I'm going to step out of the way and turn it over to the mayor, but I appreciate those that came today, and I am thankful and appreciative of the work that you guys do day in and day out, especially the men and women, that give up tireless effort, and I appreciate you. Mr. Mayor?
I just want to say good afternoon and just thank you. Thank you to Chief Drew and the entire police department, as well as to our city manager, Alan Archer, for providing the data for this overview. During my State of the City address in March, we announced the goal that we were going to reduce gun violence, primarily homicides, by more than 15% over the last 18 months. Chief Drew and I discussed at the beginning of this year, this is not a one-person thing. This is something that like only a team can do. A team like Adrian in the back, and Catchmore, and Abyss, and Pastor Swan, and I saw Rob, and like there's so many people that bring all of this together. But this is not one person or one organization, but the entire city coming together. I have full confidence in Chief Drew's leadership and know with the backing of our community, we will achieve this goal together. I'm encouraged by the results to date as we continue to implement these amazing programs and strategies to address gun violence in our city. The 15 organizations who are part of our gun violence intervention program that was implemented last year received a total of $1.4 million. If you are part of that VIP program, please stand up. Thank you all for doing the work. These organizations are focused on interrupting cycles of violence amongst individuals at the highest risk for being victims of gun violence or creating that gun violence. These programs that we invest in address food insecurity, vocational training, education, mental health, and conflict resolution, and they are clearly making a direct impact on our city. In total, the city has invested $900,000 to youth programs like Night Nets and the Youth Career Program. The establishment of our Night Nets program at Denby Community Center and Achievable Dream Tennis Center have been widely successful. And I want to say thank you to Alan Archer for that. It's the brain of the entire operations, but we sat down together and said, what are ways that we can provide a safe space for our children on these weekends, on a Friday night? And thank you to our faith organizations, everyone that goes and supports those amazing youth on Friday nights. We appreciate you. Night Nets provides engaging safe spaces and activities on Friday evenings for our youth ages 12 and up. Additionally, we have our Newport News Thrive initiative, which is a comprehensive effort leveraging over $500 million in current investments, an additional $500 million allocated for fiscal year 2025. Newport News Youth Thrive aims to create a supportive environment where every young person feels valued, combat youth violence, promote cultural diversity and inclusion, and enhance the physical and mental well-being. We are leveraging financial investments to offer enhanced programming, provide young people with the knowledge and the workforce skills, and expand access to opportunities. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. How can we increase opportunities to the youth of Newport News? We are going to continue our efforts. We are not going to just rely on data from a 6-month period, but we are going to continue to move forward and to push forward together with the establishment of the Newport News Office of Community Safety. This office will address the 7 pillars associated with gun violence. We currently have a search and selection process already underway to hire our violence prevention manager. The key responsibilities of this position include developing initiatives that prevent youth and young adult violence and promoting the resiliency of our community. This person will be a community champion and build the necessary team of city staff, volunteers, and advocates to advise the city manager and city council on best practices to continue to reduce gun violence. Additionally, we are also exploring the creation of a hospital-based violence interruption program. This is a national model that is based on hospitals and communities working together to reduce violence. The goal, we will create a program that meets the immediate medical needs of our community while addressing the underlying issues and connecting citizens to a vast array of resources and case management services. I want to thank the dedicated members of the Newport News Police Department. Thank you to the women and to the men who constantly walk the beat, and you have no greater champion or advocate than your chief. I additionally want to thank all of the community partners who are here with us today. And there are too many to name, but if you are a community partner, if you are, I see, Pastor Swan, I see whoever you are, please stand up, because this is a team effort. My ask of our community, the call to action, is for all of you to continue to build forward with me by strengthening our community partnerships, uplifting our youth and young adults together, and supporting the important work of our dedicated officers. At this time, Chief Allen and I will take questions. Thank you.
Chief Drew, are most of these shootings situations where the perpetrators and the victims know each other, or are they random acts of violence?
No, it's a great question. It absolutely is. I would say in the 80th percentile, approaching 90. When we go through our crime numbers in this room every Thursday and our staff meetings every Monday when we're reviewing that, I can't tell you the time that the captains, and not just on violent crime, but on a lot of the crime that we see, whether it's burglaries, auto theft, it is individuals who've known each other, individuals who've had some conflict on social media that have gone back and forth, in the past relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends. We are not seeing that individuals are just picking up a firearm and walking out in our community and pulling a trigger. It is groups that are particular groups or neighborhoods or gangs that play back and forth. But it is not that I see just random acts. There is a correlation, and it's not just in gun violence. And when I talk to chiefs around the country and certainly around our 7 cities, they sort of see the same thing. So I would say the majority of the violent crime we see are individuals who have some type of relationship or know each other.
Chief, you mentioned that you started some of these initiatives a little bit earlier than you've done before.
Yes, ma'am.
How early would you consider
starting
them in the future?
So I will tell you, like right now, we're already looking at what we're going to do in our holiday season. The more we prepare and get things lined up, I will tell you, Pastor Swan and I have known each other for a long time. We were just on the phone earlier this week and this morning going back and forth talking about some things that we can do. And at Friday Night Nets, we spent a lot of time talking about what do we need in our communities, what do we need in our neighborhoods. We started a good 2 or 3 months ahead of time this year to address issues that we saw that we had last summer. We put some things in place at the end of the year last year that I think by the grace of God, right, really played a big role as we moved into this year at the beginning. We got off to a great start. But the men and women that are in the back of the room here, they don't sit down, they stay in the back, right? They are the heartbeat of this organization that come out here day in and day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to work the streets in our community and our neighborhood. So I listen to them and what do they think? What do citizens tell us? What's in our neighborhoods? Their enforcement action, but putting things in place makes a huge difference. If I would have started in June 1 to focus on the summer, I've already lost an opportunity to set the tone. Our partnership with the state police, our federal and state local partners, grassroots organizations that are here, our volunteers that come in, and what can we do to help? So I'm really encouraged to hear the mayor talk about my call to action, his call to action, right? Because that's exactly what do we do now? So I think you have to look at crime trends around the country, what we're experiencing in our community, mold that together. But I will tell you, every Monday and Thursday in this room alone, we are talking about those crime trends and patterns, what's working, what's not working, and do we need to adjust?
Is there one initiative that's worked better than others noticeably?
Now, there is no way that I will tell you, here's the best initiative. People in this city in uniform, sworn in civilian, and individuals that are sitting here that have a heart for people. That's the best initiative we have. None of these I could pick out and say, oh, these two have really done it. It is all of those. But what makes every one of those partnerships work are the men and women who do that. The men and women who put on that uniform, men and women are out here in the streets having conversations, the phone calls that we have, the city administration that works with us, our city council, that is the one thing that holds everything together.
Chief Drew, you mentioned that in most of these cases, these victims and perpetrators may know each other. Is it fair for us to say that a lot of these cases, it stems from juveniles picking up guns and shooting one another, or even domestic violence situations. What is your department doing to specifically tackle those types of situations? Because a lot of times
Yep.
it starts inside the house.
You're exactly right. So we have a civilian coordinator here that helps Dr. Cheryl Shavers, who does tremendous, not only on training. Michael Coker with the State Department has changed. DCJS has changed a little bit of how we focus on domestic violence. Chief Creswell, who's in the back of the room, when we talk about shootings, I know me and Mr. Archer talked early on this year about some things that are up in other states about approaching just a shooting, right? Where someone may just be shot at and missed, or a non-fatal shooting, and bringing the same resources that we bring to that scene as we would in a homicide. Because it's just one step away, right? Inches or whatever it might be that that individual may have lost their life. So it's bringing those resources and looking at crime in a different way. And when we talk about juveniles, I'm a little bit removed from my high school years. But there are 5 high school students in the back of this room that we meet with every Wednesday throughout the summer. Those young adult police commissioners, the mayor's club, having those conversations of, hey, this is what, and when what drives it? And it's all this stuff about social media, that something said, when I grew up, something was said, you may address it, and it was over the next day. Today, it lingers out there, and more people, they comment, and the pressure on youth, and it builds. So I think that we have, the earlier that we start, the interactions that we have in communities, people their environment, there's things better. There's better choices, and to try to get that across, and that just can't come from a police department. It has to come from a community. I learned that from conversations with the Bishop Troy several times. It has to be individuals who can relate and are willing to the credibility I get or the credibility that others get when we work together. I think that's going to make the difference. But we have to, there's not one. It has to continue to evolve and stay at the work.
And for my last question, I know a lot of people are going to be really happy when they see that this crime is trending downwards. But for some people, they might say that they're just not seeing it. There was a quadruple shooting that happened just a few weeks ago about that, maybe back in June or something. What would you say to the people who say they're afraid still to walk out in front of their street?
That's a lot of the conversations that the mayor and the city manager, and Mr. Archer and I have, is the perception is reality. It matters. So I think that's one of the reasons that we wanted to get out today and share with our community, our city, of where we're at. But believe me, I get it, though. Chief, you know, we've had 2 incidents here on our street. It is incumbent upon us to walk that neighborhood, communicate people. I don't want residents to just see us when something bad happens. But we have to, I wish I had a magic wand or a crystal ball to tell us where to be. But I will tell you that people in communities and neighborhoods, they know much better about what's going on in their community, their block, than we do. And we have to create an atmosphere where people feel more and more comfortable. You know, as we were thinking all these different groups today, there was one I forgot to mention, and it plays into your question. It are the citizens of this city that are taking their neighborhoods back and coming forward and sharing information. They may not walk into a courtroom, but they may tell us the direction, the avenue of, you might want to talk to this individual. That's the vehicle. This is the license plate that I saw. The citizens of this city, ultimately, right, there's only about 500 officers in our department. It's the residents, the 187,000 residents here, 187,000, right, that communicate with all of us, or elected officials, our outreach, their pastors or faith leaders. I can't tell you the number of churches that email and call and just say, I'm praying for your city, I'm praying for our department, I'm praying for our neighbors. That we walk into communities and they're with offering prayer, or what can we do? I think all those things play a role. But I think it's to get involved, to look at the data is important, but to remember that perception in each one of these points, right, each one of these data points is an individual, and I never want to lose perspective of that.
And I want to give Alan a chance to talk about just the foundation and the numbers. It's not just the numbers, it's a snapshot in time. It's not just a point in time. These are programs that are going to take some time to get started, but we're going to build on them. So I do want the city manager to come and talk briefly about what we see this Office of Community Safety going to envision and how we're going to staff it and what everything is going to be a part of that program.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Mr. Mayor. Good morning. I think what I would like to do is just take a brief moment to, as you've heard from the speakers already today, thank everyone in this room for being a part of the solutions that are coming forward to address this very critical issue. It's not just in Newport News, but as you know, it's other communities across Hampton Roads in this nation as well. We mentioned a very specific initiative that is forthcoming, and that is the creation of the Office of Community Violence Prevention. And as a backdrop, and to kind of emphasize the importance of this initiative, I want to use the current slide that you see representing all of the community partnerships that are currently active in the City of Newport News, right? There are a lot of connecting threads between the work. There are a lot of programs, and there are a lot of activities. So the whole idea behind the Office of Community Violence Prevention having one point person is for that individual to serve as a manager in making sure that our programs are evidence-based, making sure that we're able to track results, and making sure that we can continue to grow the confidence that our governing body has in investing critical public dollars into these programs that will make a difference in our community. So this one individual and this individual's team, once they are hired, will be responsible for undertaking this task. And so there's been some discussion about the 15 organizations that are currently receiving $1.4 million. This is the city's third year in funding these community-based organizations to make an impact in our city. This is critical work, and this work is not done in isolation. As you can see in this chart, and as you've heard from the discussion, it's done in concert with a number of people all coordinating their actions to make strategic investments and to make a strategic impact. And just these 15 organizations alone this year, and we've completed the fiscal year, so the numbers I'm going to share with you are based on a fiscal year. These 15 organizations alone in the City of Newport News have funneled their activities into 7 key areas. These are the 7 key areas that we refer to as our pillars in order to reduce violent crime in the City of Newport News. These 15 organizations have seen over 8,000 participants come through their programs in 7 critical areas: effective conflict resolution, economic prosperity, creating a caring community, conducting effective deterrence and adjudication, contributing toward healthy family functioning, gun control and safety, and mental wellness and healing. So this is a framework. This is a framework for our community and others. This is a regional framework that not only Newport News is using, but other localities are using to address this critical challenge. So our framework and our lens creates these 7 pillars, and we want to focus our work in the community on these 7 pillars to really get at the heart of the issue, which is to bring down violent crime. And this individual and their team will take on the challenge of coordinating these activities so that we can continue to see and make progress in this area. Thank you.
I think we have time for maybe 2 questions, and then we will wrap up. So if there's anything remaining, say it now.
I guess just any message left to the citizens who may watch this in its entirety or may not. What are the key highlight that you want people to understand?
The reason that we're doing this press conference is because this is good news that's happening in Newport News. And it's not one person, it's a multifaceted approach. We understand the perception, but I'm bullish on the future of Newport News because 1, we have amazing community partners. 2, we have, I think, the best police officers in the entire country, as well as the chief and city manager. But I want the citizens to know that this has been top of mind. This is important that we have evidence-based solutions, that we are investing. We have a fiduciary responsibility to spend taxpayer money, and we are investing it not only into the youth of Newport News, but into the future of this great city. Did you?
I have one question just for clarification on the data, Chief Drew.
Yep.
Sure.
The 9 homicide figures that you reported up to this point this year, those do not include killings in self-defense or officer involved.
That's correct. We follow the FBI standards reporting that across the country are the same. That's how they collect that average. It is those that are criminal intent of homicides. The cases that go forward adopted by our Commonwealth Attorney's Office. Yes, sir.
I think with that, I will turn it over to you. I think we're good. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Hey, Chief Drew, how are you?
Doing all right? Good to see you.
Yeah,
Good
doing
to
well.
see you.
Nice to meet you. Is there a way to get a printout of those slides? Because I think
We're
those
going to
numbers got jumbled in
post
my